fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Day 30 for my family's self-quarantine and social isolation. It's actually 26 days as of Thursday since Governor Murphy's stay-at-home order. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman Magazine, getting caught up with a little yard work, celebrating here in Puerto Vallarta. All due respect, it's kind of nice being back here doing a little bit of the yard work. Take advantage of some of the benefits with the night crawlers. Of course, we don't have to dig our own bait anymore. Not since last week when we talked about it in the video forecast. We posted it online this week, but tackle shops are able to do curbside delivery on those essential bait and tackle needs, which is a really good thing. Many shops now finally doing the curbside delivery out in the open. All you have to do is call your order in advance, put it on credit card order, maybe you have an account, a house account, and then you go non-contact delivery of your bait and tackle at the curb. It's terrific because many of the shops now carrying all the stuff that you need. You've got the bloodworms, like they're doing at Sea Isle Bait and Tackle and so many other shops if you want to get in on some of those early season stripers. In the back, maybe some winter flounder in Central or North Jersey. Many shops carrying fresh bunker now. I saw Riptide Bait and Tackle, for example, because some of those bass are turning on to the chunks of bunker. Of course, bluefish shouldn't be too far out either. And look what I found. Some fresh drum candy. Surf clams, so hard to get. This was over at Jersey Hooker Outfitters. So yes, the surf clams are in shops as well if you need that delivered to the curb. If you're clamming for stripers, get them by the bushel bag. Maybe going out along the sod banks or jumping out on the boats, taking advantage of some of the striper fishing or black drum as well. Now, if you can't make it to your shop in time or there's no curbside delivery, whatever time you might need, some of the shops like the Tackle Box and Hazlitt and Bucktail Outfitters in Mays Landing have vending machines outside so you can get those essentials outside. And again, another way of having that non-human contact aspect during this COVID-19 crisis. Spawners are definitely moving up the Delaware. They have been for a couple of weeks, but we're continuing to get some pretty significant catch reports from folks that are worming along the Delaware Bayshore. Dave Michalka, he released this big girl, one of the biggest fish I know of this season. It taped out at 47 inches in length with a 31-inch girth. That fish caught and released along the Delaware Bay. Not the only one. Jason Michaelis estimated this fish he released on the Delaware last week was pushing the 40-pound mark. Now again, I know that the area from the Salem River and the estuaries all the way up to the Calhoun Street Bridge in Trenton is closed to striper harvest. You've got to use circle hooks if you're fishing for something else. But again, if you're hunting and pecking and looking around, there are some spots along the Delaware where you can get in on some of this striped bass action. And again, those big fish, they have to be released based on the regulations that we have now. But keep in mind, those big fish, they're definitely on the spawn right now. So they're moving up the Delaware. And soon enough, those big fish that Jason and David released, they'll be doing their thing, spawning and leaving thousands and millions of eggs for the future. Those big spawners, of course, are up along the Raritan Bay as well as they're prepping to move up the Hudson for their spawn. Guy Buono let me know this week that he was doing a little solo effort on his crunch sport fishing, got into this nice fat striper this week. And also, Matt Lassell, he's been checking in with me on a regular basis. He said he got in on the live line bite. He was over on the New York side of the Raritan. Don't forget, New York, they just started their striper season April 15th. So again, Matt was across the other side. Live line and bunker for those stripers. Again, forgive me for preaching as I do, but let's remember to follow the state's guidelines as far as not huddled masses, not around the boat ramps or marinas. If you find yourself in a good striper bite along the Raritan, if you're wading in, just keep those social distancing concerns in mind. Don't hog the parking lots. Be real careful because we don't want to have more of these prime areas shut down. But again, if you're looking around for some striper hotspots to wade in and throw those mag darters or those SP minnows, just keep that in mind. But this is a great season for enjoying some of that striper fishery as well. Of course, the for-hire captains aren't able to sail. They're not allowed to take customers right now, at least. Some of our captains are sailing for fun, taking the trips out with their family, going out by themselves, and they're providing some reports to us on a weekly basis. Captain Fletcher Chase of Two River Chargers, he gave up the fiberglass for a couple of days, got out and found himself a stretch of beach, throw some of those plastics, getting in on some of the striper fishing. Of course, the plastics are working in those open stretches of beaches, as well as in the back bays, Barnegat, all the way down into Great Bay, and all the way through into Atlantic and Cape May County as well. Finding, of course, an area of beach where you can fish is the difficult endeavor. I would imagine that some of these beaches that have been closed are probably producing some stripers as well on the soft plastics. But again, finding a town that hasn't closed their stretch of beach or boardwalk is becoming more and more difficult throughout this crisis. A friend of mine shared a pretty cool site. It's jerseybest.com. They have a fairly comprehensive listing of beaches and boardwalks throughout New Jersey that are closed and the status of those beaches. You might want to go check that out. So while I can't tell you exactly where to fish, that would be unfair of those folks that are there, I will say it's worth it if you can get out and try to find some of those spots, whether you're using Waze, Google Earth, looking for spots, looking for access, but those stretches are available. You got to get off the beaten track, and again, you have to follow those social distancing guidelines while you're there. I know Kirsten Holloway and Gary Adair, who spent a lot of time along the sedges fishing for stripers, they put some clams out last week while they were social distancing together, got themselves into their first black drum of the 2020 season. That's about probably the second black drum that I've heard of this season, so I'm sure those fish are there. And we also got a report last week from Paul Gantz, who said he was trolling SP minnows out around the Great Bay area last week, put a box full of bluefish in on his boat. Now, that was the first and the only, so far, bluefish reports substantiated that I've gotten. I'm sure those choppers are going to turn on soon enough. So, yes, saltwater action is definitely shaping up. If you haven't gotten your boat all prepped for the season, I would advise you to start thinking to do so, especially as these marinas, if your boat's in a marina like mine, laid up for the winter, give a call right away, because at some point, hopefully soon, we'll have the doors opened up and we'll be back in business. And I'll tell you, those marinas aren't going to be able to deal with the pressure at that time. On the freshwater side, of course, these park closures statewide have made it very difficult to find a good access point to get in on some of those stock trout. Personally, I've found this season I'm more into trout fishing than I have been in a few years. Maybe it's because of that challenge. Maybe it's because of the crisis and stuck in the backyard or in the living room. But getting out, trying to find those access points becomes a challenge, and it's part of the excitement, I think, of trying to find a good freshwater spot, using Google Earth and just taking some recon trips to try to find out where those fish might be or where those access points might be. My buddy Jeff Evans said he had a devil of a time since opening day trying to find a place for he and his boys to get on some of those trout, but they did. Found themselves a stringer full earlier this week, and pointed out a couple of locations to look for. But again, it's about hunting and pecking and trying to find yourself some of those spots. Phil Prash, he found a fly while he was ambling along a trout water in Hunterdon County, picked it off the tree, threw that in. One man's loss is another guy's bubba. He checked in this big fish, again, Hunterdon County, checked it in with James over at Shannon Fly Shop. My buddy Roger Muller, he was actually out on opening day. I'm not sure how many folks were. I avoided it like the plague, or like a coronavirus, but Roger was out on opening day, stumbled into this 8.5-pound tiger. So it's definitely a good sign to get out there and enjoy some of that freshwater opportunity. More on the western sweetwater action with an update from our shad fishery as well, from my friend George, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. I hope everybody's out still being responsible and practicing their social distancing. But I do have some bad news to start off this week. The bi-state annual shad fishing contest has been canceled. Unfortunately, their permit was pulled given the distancing regulations. So it looks like we're going to have to wait till next year to join into that fantastic contest. But the organizers tell me that 2021 is going to be much, much better. So we got that to look forward to. Now, the heavy rains over the past week have really given us some muddy water, and the creeks and rivers are high and running fast, so fishing may be a little bit difficult in some of those bodies of water. But the lakes are probably still good, even though the water's a little bit high. Now, some guys have been out really catching fish. Patrick Carey got into some really nice pike up near Wallenpaupack. He made this one smile, and that is a really nice little catch there. Look at those teeth. Leonid Sharievsky got into his PB freshwater striper behind his house in Carbon County. It was a 29-inch, 9-pound striper, beautiful fish, fresh or saltwater, congrats, Lean, good fish there. Now, Kerry Williams got another striper. This is up on Lake Wallenpaupack. Again, stripers, wherever you get their stocked in the freshwater, are running really well. And I'm not talking Delaware where these are saltwater stripers. These are stocked, landlocked stripers, and that bite is finally on. I can't wait to get out and do a little bit myself. Another good friend, Rich Bates, he was in the upper Delaware River, and he got into some really nice brown trout on some spinners. Now, we talked earlier this year, those spinners and even those jerk baits have really been producing, and it looks like that pattern is still solid. So if you guys want out and get some trout, go out and try some spinners and those jerk baits. Remember, the Pennsylvania trout season is open, but all the bag limits and size limits still do apply, so get out and get on some trout. Good friend Matt Cav was out on the Susquehanna River, and he said that the smallmouth were actually stacked up. He got this beauty here on a green jig on the bottom, and he said they were producing all day long. So lots of great fish, guys. I hope you guys get a chance to get out, get fishing, be safe, be responsible. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
Hey, you know, if you're in the market for a brand new Yamaha, that special deal, the Reliable Choice sales event that Yamaha had that was supposed to end March 31st because of the crisis, they continued it on through April 30th. So if you're looking to repower, call your local Yamaha dealer now to take advantage of 5 years of warranty protection or a $1,500 dealer credit on your next Yamaha purchase. Probably a good time to give a little tip of the hat to some of the folks that are kind of stepping above and beyond the call of duty in our recreational fishing community in terms of the COVID-19 crisis. I learned from the Raritan Bay Anglers Club that this past Tuesday, they started an 8-week Tuesday pizza party for the folks at Hackensack Meridian Healthcare, the Raritan Bay Medical Center in Perth Amboy. They're delivering 10 pizzas every Tuesday to those first responders and health workers. Really good job, you guys, up in the Raritan. Meanwhile, I found out that the folks from Viking Yachts, you know, they closed their New Gretna and also the Mullica facility in late March. But lo and behold, Patrick Healy, Vice President of Viking Yachts, donated 1,000 masks, 100 Tyvek suits, 50 Tyvek hoodies, and 50 Tyvek booty sets to Shore Medical and 2 other local hospital centers for them to take advantage or to use. Viking couldn't use them at the time with the closure, so God bless you, Viking Yachts and the Healy family as well. Great Bay Blues and Drum, New Jersey curbside tackle, monster striped bass on the Delaware River, and also on Raritan Bay. It's all covered in this week's digital-only edition for you subscribers. If you subscribe, get access to that weekly edition online right now as we suffer through the COVID-19 crisis. Definitely some opportunities to get out and wet a line, socially distant, of course, but enjoy yourself, take care, be safe. We'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.